You may be tired or sick of hearing the word male privilege being thrown around, and privilege is a buzzword today. I want to flip the script a little bit because I think there's a bigger picture that we need to look at. And instead of dealing with it as an issue of privilege, let's look into the real heart of the issue. How can we take these thoughts about privilege and how can we swing it around in a way that actually makes a real difference in somebody's life? That's what we're going to talk about today on the Manlihood ManCast.
Men, your journey to becoming a better man starts today. Grab a hold of what matters and make it count. Welcome to the Manlihood ManCast with Josh Hatcher.
We've got something exciting coming up on December 16th at 7 p.m. If you are anywhere near Bradford, Pennsylvania, which is where I'm from, we've got a guy that's coming in. He's actually coming in to do an interview on the podcast, and in the process, we connected him with our church. He's going to be at Open Arms Church. His name is Sam Childers. If you've ever seen the movie Machine Gun Preacher, starring Gerard Butler, the movie was made about his life. He was hard-living guy, met Jesus, and then decided to go and free children from warlords in Africa. And so, yeah, this guy is an amazing guy with an amazing story. It's going to be put on by my men's group, which is Tribe of Lions, but also we're going to promote it here at Manlihood because, again, he's going to be on the podcast soon, and we want to just let you know. So that's December 16th, 2023 at 7 p.m. at Open Arms Church.
This is the Manlihood ManCast.
Gentlemen, welcome to the Manlihood ManCast. I'm your host, Josh Hatcher, and I am so glad that you guys have tuned in today. I'm so glad that you guys are tuning in all the time because this is a movement, and it doesn't happen with just me. It happens with all of us when we embrace what it means to be a man, when we embrace this idea that virtue and living according to our principles matters. And I'm really grateful that you guys are making those choices. And I'm hoping that I can help support that. I'm hoping this movement can support each other because you can't go it alone. Guys, today we're talking about responsibility because it's a heavier weight than privilege. You know, we hear a lot in the media and on social media about privilege, about white privilege, about male privilege. And you know, here we are in 2023, and I was raised in the 80s. I'm the tail end of the Gen Xers, right? And, you know, I was born in 78. And so the things that I remember when I heard the word privilege, I thought that meant something good that you have, something you were glad to have. Like if you had privileges, that meant that you had something that not everybody got to have, and it was a good thing. So, you know, now we're living in an age where to be privileged is to be like a trust fund baby who is spoiled and didn't have things, you know, had everything given to him. And, you know, that changing of the connotations of the words is a little challenging for me. But, you know, I also am not a fan of using something like privilege to say, using the concept, right, of privilege to say that somebody isn't as good as they should be because they've had everything handed to them. I also am not a fan of it actually happening because sometimes it does, right? But one of the things that I think people don't understand, especially when it comes to manhood and masculinity, is that manhood is not a privilege. You know, we're being told that, you know, because you're a man, that you have special privilege and power in the world. And again, we could get into what that all means and what it comes from. I think a lot of it is rooted in Marxism and cultural Marxism and this idea, right, that the weak are victims of the strong and that the strong must be torn down. And and I do think that that is a real problem that is plaguing society. when I say it's a real problem that's plaguing society, I mean Marxism, okay? And Marxism plays off of things that people see and observe. And, the truth is, being a man may give some people some advantages in the world. Men are usually seen as stronger. Men are usually seen as more capable, whether that's emotionally or, physically. Now, I'm not saying that we always are in every situation. I think that all depends on the person. That depends on the man himself. So I don't want this to be an episode that is about debating all of those concepts. If you look at the world and you do see male privilege, fine, whatever. What I want to really pull out, though, is this idea that to be a man, it's not about the privilege, it's about the responsibility. To be a man, I can see where people might say, well, a man has privilege. The world is set out to honor men and to take care of men and the patriarchy and blah, blah, blah. I get it. I understand why you're complaining. I do. But my point is, as a man, I have a greater responsibility. I'm not asking for a bigger plate on the table, right? I'm not asking to go first. I'm not asking to be better than everybody else or to be seen as better than everybody else because I'm a man. That's kind of dumb. Okay, the thought that because my genes are, my chromosomes tell me that I am male, that doesn't give me a privilege in the world. That doesn't mean I'm better than anybody else. But I do believe that because I am stronger than a woman in most cases, right? The vast majority of the cases, because I have a unique way of thinking that is different than the way a woman thinks, because I have a different psychological and physiological makeup than a woman, I do think that because of that, there's a responsibility that comes with it. Now, I believe that men and women are equal. All right? We are equal in the eyes of God, and they should be equal in the eyes of everybody else. I am no better than a woman. I'm no stronger than a woman in some ways, right? There's no way I could birth out a baby, right? There's no way that I could, bleed for a week every month and be okay with it. There are things that my wife does and endures and puts up with in general that women have to put up with, that there's no way I could do that without breaking psychologically, okay? I want to make that clear. She's a very strong person, and women are very strong, okay? But we're different, and we see things differently. Now, you could argue that that is all cultural versus whether or not that's genetic. I think that it doesn't matter whether it's cultural or genetic. The truth of the matter is we're different, and there's a reason we're different, and it's a good thing that we're different. And my point here is that as a man, I have a responsibility to take care of what is around me and what needs to be done. Do women have responsibility? Yes, women have responsibility too. But guess what? This is called manlyhood, not womanlyhood. So I'll let somebody else's podcast talk to the women and what their responsibility is. Okay? What I'm saying is that as a man, I need to embrace that my responsibility means that I do what needs to get done, that I take care of what needs to get taken care of, that I honor what needs to be honored. And leadership is one of those things that I think is inherent to manhood. Can women be leaders? Yes, of course women can be leaders. Are men the leaders of the home? Yes, and so are women. I think we lead together, right? That's not about what I'm talking about here. But for me to step into what it means to be a man, leadership is a part of that. And here is where we get it wrong. So often is that we look at leadership as lordship. I look at leadership as, I'm not saying I do this, but we can do this, right? I look at, because I'm in a position of leadership, I deserve the things that should come to me. That's privilege, and that's not what I'm talking about. we have this tendency to view leadership as like a king sitting in a hall demanding that everyone bring me, turkey legs to eat, and the women all do what I expect them to do, and that everybody is there to serve and to please me. That is not leadership. That is lordship, and that's not what it means to lead. If we go to some ancient wisdom, Jesus said, "He who wants to be the greatest should be the least." He talked about service, and he modeled that by washing the feet of his disciples. Now, I'm not here to preach at you. That's not what I'm talking about, but I'm using it as a great example that we can learn from. That to lead is to serve, not to domineer or to dominate. And so as you look at the people in your life, if you want to lead them, you serve them. Now, that may mean taking on the weight of important decisions, and that isn't a privilege. Again, that's a burden that we bear. That's a responsibility that we take on, the weight of those important decisions. We may take on the weight of making sure that our family has what they need and that they have done what they're supposed to do, that role of guiding and directing. And we don't do it because we deserve it, right? We do it because we love the people that we serve. That is what it means to be a leader. And I think that's a part of what it means to be a man. One of the things that I think is a responsibility that we have as men is to do the right thing at all costs. So often we will take a shortcut and not do the right thing. We will cheat because it's easy. It's an easy solution. And as a result, we then have now compromised ourselves morally. And I get it. It's 2023 and morality seems to be the thing that nobody can agree on these days. I'm not here to tell you what your morality should be. I'm not. I mentioned Jesus earlier, right? That's where I pull my source of morality is from Christianity. So for me, that's what I understand. And I think everybody should follow that. I really do. But I'm not here to shove it down everybody's throats. I get it, right? I get it. What I am saying is we need to strive for morality. We need to strive to do what is right. We need to strive to live in a way that honors the right thing. And that's a responsibility that we bear. And this isn't just for men, this is for humans. But I think especially for men, because I think that if we are leaders, we're setting the model. As we serve those around us, we're setting the model for how they should behave. And if we're not behaving properly, and if we're not doing the right thing at all costs, the people around us are going to follow that lead. Yikes. Do I really want to lead the people around me to destruction? Because that's where immorality leads, to destruction. I don't want that. I don't want to see my children make the same mistakes that I did. As my kids are growing up, I'm seeing that happen, by the way. And what a horrible feeling to see them following my mistakes. Do the right thing at all costs. Here's something that's important, guys, to really see when we contrast this idea of responsibility and privilege. Privilege says you deserve it. And I tell you what, our culture is shoving that down our throats. That's, you deserve a break today, right? Wasn't that the old McDonald's saying, you deserve a break today? Responsibility, rather, says that you've earned it. I think that is the difference here, is that real careful shift. Some things you get, now grace, right? Grace is when something happens that you don't deserve or earn, that you couldn't deserve or earn. And I'm talking, again, not only spiritually, but in other ways as well. There are those moments when you are blessed, right? When something happens in your life that you couldn't have deserved and you couldn't have earned. That is grace. That is blessing. Those are the things that we need to be thankful and grateful for sure. And recognize those moments when those good things come that you could not have deserved and you could have not have earned. Right? Recognize those. But there are other things in life when there are good things that come to you, like a paycheck, for example. The paycheck comes to you because you have put in the work and you earned it. That's responsibility. Privilege says, I deserve more. I deserve this. What makes you deserve it? I think that's the thing that we have to recognize, guys, is that none of us are owed anything. None of us deserve anything. If you honestly were to lay out your whole life in front of you and try to weigh the good and the bad, I do believe there's good in all of us. But you know what? I think honestly, no matter what, my bad outweighs my good. That's a hard thing for a lot of people to accept because we all want to think that we are better than we are. But the truth is, anything that you deserve, because we do deserve some things possibly, right? And maybe, it's not about what you deserve, though. It's about what you've earned and about what you are blessed with. And I think when we can look at it from that perspective, when we don't see anybody as owing us anything, it's not that you deserve to be treated with respect. You've earned that respect. Or you've been treated with respect whether you earned it or deserve it. And I think that's the perspective that we need to take, that shift. Because if I deserve something, that's privilege. But if I earn something, that's responsibility. And if I get something, whether I earned it or deserved it, whether or not I did, if it still comes to me anyway, that's a blessing and that's grace. Those are the things that we really need to think about when we think about responsibility and when we think about privilege. I want to be known that the things that I have in my life, I either got them because I was being blessed or I got them because I earned them. I don't want to look at the things in my life and say, well, that just happened because of his last name, right? Or that happened because of who he knows. No. I want people to see he's been blessed by people that care about him or by God. And he worked hard and he earned. And that shift, guys, that shift makes all the difference. Teach your kids that they don't deserve anything, but they've earned it. Or that you've given it because you love them, which means that you've blessed them. That shift is going to make all the difference, because when we walk around entitled, thinking that we are entitled to have something just because of the very nature of who we are, that is what creates all of the crap that they say about us, right? The whole privilege narrative was born by people who it was born because people, right? Especially because men acted like they deserved something. Don't act like you deserve something. Earn the thing. Put in the work. Put in the time. And then you've earned it. And be grateful and have gratitude and appreciation for the things that you have that you didn't earn or deserve. Either way, guys, what I can tell you is responsibility. All of that, guys, all this whole thing, and when it sums it all back up, responsibility is a heavier weight than privilege, and it's a weight that we need to bear. What you get out of life and the direction that you go and your worth and your value as a man, they weigh on how you handle the responsibility that was given to you. Now, it's a weight, but it's also a blessing, because there's nothing more satisfying than putting in the work and then getting the reward because you earned it, because you were responsible. And it may be a heavier weight, but it's a worthwhile weight, and it's one that we should all strive to carry. Anyway, guys, that's what I've got for you today. Listen, make sure you go to the Manlihood ManCave. If you've got questions, you want to talk this through, you want to weigh it out, go to the Manlihood ManCave. It's our private Facebook group. You can request access to the group if you don't have it, answer a couple questions, we'll add you in, and I'd love to hear from you. I want to know your thoughts. What does this mean to you? Do you think Josh's privilege talk is a bunch of nonsense? Do you think the responsibility talk is right on point? Let's hear from you. So go in the Manlihood ManCave. Let's chat about it. Anyway, guys, listen, I want you to know this because it really matters. I love you, and I'm proud of you, and I'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Manlihood ManCast. If you want to be a better husband, father, leader, a better man, you need to join our private Facebook group, the Manlihood ManCave. Join today. Please help us out with a like, comment, share, and subscribe. And check us out at manlihood.com.